The rain was coming down hard that night at a small dinner party, and the conversation had drifted to the things we wished we could tell our younger selves. One woman, usually so poised, got quiet. Then she laughed. Not a happy laugh, but one holding a little regret. Sighs. I spent 10 years, she said, thinking I wasn't built for pleasure. Turns out I was just with people who were in too much of a hurry to find it. It reminds me of something the writer, a nice Sneen, once said. We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. Thoughtful. When you step into that intimate space, you're not just bringing your hands. You're bringing your entire self. And the person with you is experiencing your touch not as it is, but filtered through their own history, their own sense of safety. The real skill isn't in mastering a technique. It's in learning to see them. Truly see them in that moment. Welcome to Feminine Insight, the space where we explore the psychology behind desire, intimacy, and the unspoken language of pleasure. In today's video, we're diving deep into 5 essential moves that go far beyond technique. We're talking about anticipation, rhythm, connection, and the art of being truly present with another person. This is about understanding pleasure from the inside out. If this is the kind of content that speaks to your soul, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an insight. And while you're here, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's talk about the first move, which is really the foundation for everything else. It's not about a specific technique, but about a mindset, the art of anticipation. Think of it like the first few pages of a novel you can't put down. You don't rush to the last chapter. You savor the setup. The same principle applies here. The goal isn't to get to the destination as quickly as possible, but to make the journey itself unforgettable. This starts long before any direct contact. It's about building a sensory experience that begins with your hands and your breath. Instead of diving straight in, let your fingers trace a slow, deliberate path. Start from the stomach, gliding your fingertips lightly across the skin. Feel the texture, the warmth. Pay attention to the subtle dips and curves of the hips and the inner thighs. This area is incredibly sensitive, not just physically, but psychologically. When you take your time here, you're sending a clear, powerful message. You are in no hurry. You are here to explore, to appreciate, and to worship. Your breath is another incredibly potent tool in this phase. As you get closer, let her feel the warmth of your breath before any part of you touches her. A soft, warm exhale against the sensitive skin of the inner thigh creates a shiver of sensation that touch alone cannot replicate. It's an electric promise of what's to come. This moment, this pause builds a delicious tension. It's the quiet before the storm, and it allows the anticipation to build to almost unbearable levels. The key here is to be fully present, listening to every sigh and watching every subtle movement of the body beneath you. This isn't a race. It's a slow dance of discovery. Let's move into the second move, which is all about understanding that pleasure isn't a flat line. It's a dynamic breathing thing that, yes, and flows, and your touch needs to move with it. This is what I call the art of rhythmic pressure variation. It's the understanding that what feels incredible in one moment might be too much in the next. And what's subtle and teasing in one moment can become the very thing that drives someone over the edge. Imagine listening to a piece of music that stays at the exact same volume and tempo for the entire duration. It would be monotonous, right? You'd lose interest. The same is true for physical sensation. The body acclimates to stimulation incredibly quickly. If you find a good rhythm and a good pressure and you just lock it in place, eventually the nervous system starts to tune it out. It becomes background noise to keep that fire burning bright. You have to introduce contrast. This means becoming a master of variation. You might start with broad, flat strokes using the flat of your tongue or your whole mouth, creating a warm, diffuse sensation that covers a lot of ground. This is a wonderful way to build a general glowing arousal. Then, as you sense a shift in her breathing or a subtle arch of the back, you can narrow your focus. You can switch to something more precise, like the tip of your tongue, using small, consistent circles. This concentrated point of contact sends a much more intense, targeted signal. The real magic happens when you weave these two extremes together. You go from broad and soft to focused and firm. And then you might pull back just slightly, easing off the pressure before building it up again. This push and pull mimics the natural wave of arousal. It's the tension and release, the building and the backing off that creates an almost unbearable anticipation. You are essentially communicating with the body through pressure, asking it where it wants to go next and responding to its cues. You are not just performing an act, you are having a silent physical conversation. Now, let's explore the third move, which is about bringing another sense into the equation. We often focus so heavily on the physical sensation of touch that we forget about the power of sound. The voice is an incredibly intimate and direct line of connection. This move is about using your voice, specifically the warmth of your breath and the power of whispered words to elevate the entire experience. It's about engaging the mind through the ears, creating a feedback loop of pleasure that goes far beyond the physical. Think about the last time someone whispered something in your ear. It's an inherently intimate act. It requires closeness, trust, and a certain vulnerability. When you bring your face close enough to whisper, your breath is already mingling with the sensitive skin there, adding another layer of sensation. The warmth of your breath, the soft sound of it becomes a precursor to the words themselves. This isn't the time for a full blown conversation. It's about soft, low affirmations. It can be as simple as telling them how good they taste, how beautiful they are in this moment, or how much you're enjoying being right here, right now. The sound of your voice, low and genuine, can be incredibly grounding and arousing. It reassures them that they are not alone in this, that you are completely present and engaged. It builds a sense of emotional safety, which is the bedrock of letting go completely. When someone feels safe and cherished, their defenses drop. They stop worrying about how they look or sound, and they can fully surrender to the physical sensations. The timing of the whisper is also key. A soft, warm breath followed by a murmured word of appreciation just as you pause or shift your rhythm can amplify the sensation tenfold. It's like adding a soundtrack to a powerful scene in a movie. The visual is already there, but the sound deepens the emotional impact. You're not just providing physical pleasure. You're creating an entire atmosphere of intimacy. You're telling them a story with your hands, your mouth, and your voice, and they are the main character. The fourth move is about understanding that the body is a landscape, not a single point of interest. It's easy to become hyper-focused on one specific area, thinking that if you just apply enough pressure there, you'll get the desired result. But that approach misses the bigger picture. True pleasure is built on variety and exploration. This move is about the layered approach, which means you are constantly moving, exploring, and engaging with the entire area, not just one spot. Think of it like painting a masterpiece. You don't just dip your brush in one color and furiously paint the same stroke over and over again in the exact same corner of the canvas. You use broad strokes to cover the background, fine details to bring the subject into focus, and you constantly step back to see how it all works together. The same principle applies here. You want to use broad, flat strokes with your tongue to cover the outer areas, building a warm, generalized arousal that spreads throughout the entire body. This invites blood flow to the surface and heightens sensitivity everywhere. Then, just when that broad sensation becomes familiar, you change it. You narrow your focus. Use the tip of your tongue to trace delicate patterns to circle with more precision or to apply a firmer, more direct pressure to the areas that are most sensitive. This contrast between the broad and the specific is what keeps the nervous system engaged and guessing. It prevents the acclimation that leads to numbness or boredom. You are essentially painting with sensation, using different strokes to create different feelings. The key is to be fluid and intuitive in your movements. You're not following a rigid map. You're letting the responses you feel guide you. A sharp intake of breath when you use a broad, flat stroke tells you to linger there. A subtle shiver when you switch to a focused circle tells you found something special. By layering these different types of touch, you're creating a rich tapestry of sensation that is far more powerful and intense than any single repetitive motion could ever be. It's the difference between hearing a single note and listening to an entire symphony. The fifth and final move is perhaps the most counterintuitive, yet it is the one that separates good from truly unforgettable. It's about understanding that the peak of pleasure is not a cliff you push someone off, but a wave you help them ride. This is the climactic decrescendo. When you feel the body begin to tense, When the breathing becomes ragged and the muscles start to contract, the natural instinct is to speed up, to press harder, to chase that finish line with everything you have. But the secret is to do the exact opposite. Right at that precipice, when you can sense they are about to go over the edge, you want to lighten your pressure. You want to slow your rhythm down just a fraction. It sounds like it would ruin the moment, but in reality, it prolongs it and deepens it immeasurably. Think of it like a diver standing on the edge of a high platform. The moment of suspension right before they leap is filled with an incredible intensity. By easing off the gas pedal just as the engine is revving highest, you stretch that moment of suspension out. You are essentially catching the wave of pleasure at its peak and holding it there for a few breathtaking seconds. You go from firm, consistent, focused pressure to something softer, slower, and more teasing. The sensation doesn't disappear. It transforms. It spreads out, becoming more diffuse and building an even deeper, more desperate need. The body, which was about to release, is now held in a state of exquisite tension. It's the difference between a quick, sharp flash of lightning and a slow, rolling rumble of thunder that shakes the whole sky. Then, and only then, as you feel them melt into this suspended state, you can begin to slowly build the pressure again. But this time, you're building from a peak of arousal, not from a baseline. The release, when it finally comes, is not just a physical event. It becomes a full body wave that crashes over them deeper and more sustained because you had the patience and the presence of mind to pause and let the anticipation fully bloom. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to hold back. So here we are at the end of this conversation. If there is one thread that weaves through every single one of these moves, it's this: pleasure is not a destination you arrive at, it's a world you build together. It's not about performing a series of technical maneuvers perfectly. It's about showing up with your whole self, your hands, your voice, your breath, your patience, and your undivided attention. It's about being curious. It's about listening, not just with your ears, but with your fingertips and your instincts. The most powerful tool you will ever have in this realm is your genuine desire to explore and to give. When that is your focus, the techniques become natural expressions of that intention, not a script you have to follow. You learn to read the language of the body beneath you. You learn that a sharp inhale is a word, an arch of the back is a sentence, and a trembling sigh is an entire paragraph. You become fluent in that language by practicing presence. So take these ideas not as rigid rules, but as inspiration. Let them guide you to be more attentive, more playful, and more generous. Move with confidence, but also with reverence. Understand that true intimacy is built in the quiet moments, in the whispered words, and in the patience to let pleasure unfold at its own perfect pace. That is where the real magic lives. Thank you.